Sons of Fire. Roles of Record 8, Amarahiti and Cluth.
Hello, welcome. I'm Pearl. Amarahiti was a beautiful woman born into the house of Sothis. During the construction of the city, she encountered Cluth, a barbarian, while learning the speech of outsiders at the place of the Talking Stone. Many believe the Talking Stone to be what we now call the Rosetta Stone. Core themes: cultural clash between civilized children of light and barbarians, prejudice against foreign healing, loyalty, sacrifice, redemption through love, and the preservation of wisdom amid decline.
Sons of Fire. Roles of Record 8, Amarahiti and Cluth. The sister of Cable Kai was born in the house of Sothis, and her name was Amarahiti. There were 4 children, and one still remains among us. Amarahiti was said to be a lovely-faced woman. In the days when the city was being built, the barbarians came and went freely among us. Many came, but stood off and watched from afar, for they did not understand our ways. Among those who came was Cluth, the son of Clada, and brother of Cladwiggan. And he talked with Amarahiti in the days when she was still in her father's household. In those days she sat at the place of the Talking Stone, which still stands in its place. For she was among those who sought to know the speech of the barbarians. In the season of fruitfulness, the true wife of Clada was overcome with a sickness, which no one among her own people could cure, not even the wise men or priests who were able enough in such things. Therefore Cluth came to Ramana, the mother of Amarahiti, who was known afar for her skill with herbs. Amarahiti came with Cluth to speak for him. When Ramana understood his needs, she and Amarahiti went with him, taking 2 armed men and men of the barbarians. The peace of Cladwiggan went before them. They came to the place where the true wife of Clada lay on the evening of the 2nd day. The wise men and priests went among the people, muttering against the women, and dark looks were cast upon Ramana. The mother of Amarahiti cleansed the sick woman with ashes, and made a brew of herbs and bitter bark of the river ash. She sat by the true wife of Clada, and in the morning the sick body no longer burned, neither did it consume itself. When the priests of the barbarians heard about it, they declared it was not a thing of goodness, but something brought about by evil arts. They told people a devil was loosed among them, whose trailing vapors they saw going among the huts. When darkness came that night, there were loud cries among the barbarians, for many were seized with weakness and vomiting. But this was something brought about by the priests, and not by the devil. Among the barbarians, the priests were held in high regard, and so the true wife of Clada sought to appease them. She called the highest of the priests to her and asked him what should be done to make the evil depart and leave the people in peace. The priest told her that if the 2 foreign women were sent away, their evil and the devil would depart with them. He asked her to let her own people treat her after their own manner. He told her that the things which cured sickness in another race would not cure sickness in theirs. The true wife of Clada, seeking to avoid strife and being already half cured, said it would be done as he wished. So Amarahiti and her mother departed, together with their servants and the armed men who accompanied them. On the night after they left, the true wife of Clada died, with vomit stopping in her throat. Then the priests made their voices heard among the barbarians, and told them to behold the work of the devil, which remained among them. They said it had not departed, nor would it leave until it was appeased. They spoke in such a manner that men of the barbarians set out in haste and came upon the women and Cluth, who with armed men were preparing to leave their camping place. When Cluth heard the words of the priests spoken by those who came, he was dismayed and knew not what to do. There was a man among those who came, who spoke many words to Cluth, so that he was stirred up against our women. For Cluth was a barbarian, and their ways were his ways. Missing section. It resumes. Amarahiti turned her face towards Cluth and told him that by strength alone he had brought her to this distant place and its stronghold, that through his stubbornness her people had died and her mother had been wounded. She said that though the priests called for the sacrifice of her modesty after the customs of his people, she was already made sacred to a man of her own, and would rather die than be degraded. She asked him what would be his pleasure, and would it not be even less than that, given by a woman with a price, who would at any rate be willing to please. What a small pleasure that is, set against the pleasure women can really give. Several lines missing. Resuming. Cluth stood apart with his arms. Part missing. The priests prepared the cage, and Amarahiti was fetched. Some words missing. Stood by with dignified modesty. Her mother sat apart before the image. Large part missing. Resuming. Away Cluth lay against the bole of the tree, and when they fetched her to him, he raised himself up. He hardly stood, for he was bloodied and weak. Amarahiti told him that never had woman beheld a braver man, though a foolish one. Down at the water's edge lay Cable Kai, and the men who had cut the lashings of the structure laved his wounds. The old man, who had read the omens and divided the people, bade those nearby to carry Cluth to the river bank. When they came nearby, Cable Kai had disappeared into the thickets of the forest. The men of Kelkalith remained on the other side. They left the destroyed place and the buried dead behind them, and Amarahiti stayed in the keeping of the priests of Cladwiggan. In this manner they came to the place where Cladwiggan and his warriors were assembled to meet the enemy. They were received joyfully, but there was sorrow for Cable Kai, whose cunning had carried the day. They feared for him, thinking he had been taken by the Wictas. Cluth was slain in the battle with the Wictas and the men of broad knives at the crossing of the river, now called by the barbarians Cluth Radrodwin. Cable Kai was not taken, though he was sorely wounded. His face was torn from the blows of the spiked club, so that flesh hung loosely down. He was twisted, for his shoulder was broken when the logs fell upon him. So he remained hidden within the forest, the companion of beasts, for his appearance caused men to shudder. When the leaves left the trees in the fall of the year, he came close into the city, near the boundary where Amarahiti was wont to sit, by the side of the flowing stream. In the winter he was clothed with skins and moved hardly. At the time of the midwinter feast of the barbarians, the people of the city met them on common ground beyond the city and before the forest. Fires were lit, and there was feasting and revelry. Gifts were exchanged between the people of the city and the barbarians. There was an image, part missing. Amarahiti was sorrowful because of this, and withdrew into some bushes close by the stream. With her were the two hounds. The hounds smelled out Cable Kai, for he had come close, being drawn by the warmth and cheerfulness at the place of feasting. They leaped upon him gladly, for they knew him. Cable Kai sought to escape back into the forest, but Amarahiti caught him by the hand. She looked at him and fell on his neck with tears. She covered him with her cloak of coney fur, and when her 2 attendants came, they carried him to a sheltered place close by the stream. 5 paragraphs are missing. It continues. The most skillful with herbs among them. In the spring of the year they returned as husband and wife, and were welcomed with a great feast. They remained within the house of Cable Kai. The fortress of Cluth was built up again by Cable Kai, according to his promise. And the sons of Cluth live there in these days. It stands on high ground rising out of the waters, surrounded by a high wall of logs. The city was built and finished with a wall, which was 2 walls of wood with soil between. Men came in ships with cloth and pottery, with things of metal and shells and beads. The barbarians gave much for cloth dyed scarlet, for their tree blue is not fast in cloth. Scarlet is made nowhere, except in the land of the sons of fire, where a white fish turns scarlet under the warmth of the sun. Men say that those who bring the scarlet cloth declare it to have been found in this manner. A man was out hunting with his dog, and while they walked along the strand, the dog caught a fish which it carried to its master in its mouth. The man saw a scarlet stain on the dog's mouth and wiped it away with a piece of linen. When the color could not be withdrawn from the cloth, it was taken to a dyer, who sought out the thing that had made it. The temple was built within the city and raised up on logs. Beside it was the place of instruction, and just before it was the place of exchanging. It stands today as a sanctuary and a center for those who seek the light. In its keeping are the records of the children of light, who are the children of the written word. But all is not well with the heart and spirit of the city, which is the people. A city lives not by the wood and stones with which it is built. Therefore, since the coming of Samon of the Barhed Hoi, and those who follow Ameth, we who are the heart of the children of light prepare our departure. Words missing. By the waters of Glaith, not far distant, where we may dwell by ourselves. The first books we leave in the temple with those who guard them. But we have made other books which will go with us. In another place we will make them incorruptible. This we leave with you, as we also take it with us, so that it may not be lost. The names are written and the seals placed. Here ends the 8th and final roll of records.